Hi everyone, and welcome. Tonight, we're taking a peaceful journey across Africa, a land of ancient origins, breathtaking landscapes, and incredible wildlife. Close your eyes, relax, and let the quiet stories of this remarkable continent gently carry you away. The ancient continent where humanity began. Africa is often called the cradle of humanity. Long before cities, civilizations, and written history appeared, early humans walked across the wide savannas, forests, and valleys of this vast continent. Scientists believe that the earliest members of our species, Homo sapiens, first evolved in Africa more than 200,000 years ago. The landscapes that today hold national parks and wildlife reserves were once the home of our distant ancestors who learned how to make tools, control fire, and cooperate in small communities. Africa is also the second largest continent on Earth, covering more than 30 million square kilometers. Its size is so vast that it contains an incredible variety of environments. In the north lies the enormous Sahara Desert, the largest hot desert in the world, where golden dunes stretch farther than the eye can see. In contrast, Central Africa contains dense tropical rainforests filled with towering trees, rivers, and a chorus of wildlife. To the south, open grasslands called savannas create one of the most famous natural landscapes on the planet. One of the most peaceful and iconic scenes of Africa is the slow movement of animals across the savanna at sunrise. Herds of elephants walk calmly across dusty paths, giraffes move gently among acacia trees, and antelopes graze quietly in the tall grass. These rhythms of nature have remained almost unchanged for thousands of years, creating landscapes that feel timeless and deeply calming to observe. Africa is also home to some of the longest and most important rivers in the world. The Nile River, for example, flows more than 6,600 kilometers from Central Africa all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. For thousands of years, this river has supported agriculture, cities, and entire civilizations. Even today, its slow and steady flow reminds people how deeply human life depends on water and the natural rhythms of the earth. Another fascinating feature of Africa is the Great Rift Valley, a massive geological formation that stretches across eastern Africa. This valley was created by slow movements in the Earth's crust that began millions of years ago. Within this region are vast lakes, volcanoes, mountains, and some of the most important archaeological discoveries ever made. Many fossils of early humans have been found here, offering scientists clues about how our species slowly evolved. Despite the immense size of Africa, the continent is not defined only by its landscapes but also by the extraordinary diversity of life. Thousands of animal species live here, including lions, zebras, hippos, gorillas, and countless birds and insects. Each ecosystem, whether desert, forest, mountain, or savanna, supports its own delicate balance of life. When people imagine Africa, they often picture dramatic wildlife scenes or vast deserts. But in reality, Africa is a continent of incredible complexity, history, and beauty. Its landscapes move slowly with the rhythms of wind, water, and animal migration, creating a sense of calm that feels both ancient and timeless. In many ways, learning about Africa is like looking back at the earliest chapters of the human story. The land where our ancestors once walked continues to remind us how deeply connected we are to the natural world. And when we explore the quiet facts about this continent, we begin to see Africa not only as a place on a map, but as one of the most important and fascinating parts of the Earth's history. The Great Landscapes of Africa. Africa is a continent of extraordinary landscapes, where nature reveals its beauty on a grand and peaceful scale. From endless deserts to lush forests and towering mountains, the geography of Africa creates some of the most fascinating environments on Earth. Each region has its own rhythm, climate, and quiet natural wonders that have shaped life here for millions of years. One of the most famous natural features of Africa is the Sahara Desert. Covering a huge portion of northern Africa, it is the largest hot desert in the world. Despite its harsh reputation, the Sahara is not only a place of endless sand dunes. It also contains rocky plateaus, ancient dry riverbeds, and hidden oases where water allows palm trees and small plants to grow. At sunrise and sunset, the desert becomes especially peaceful as the sand glows with warm shades of gold and orange. Moving south from the Sahara, the landscape gradually changes into the vast African savannas. These open grasslands stretch across many countries and are home to some of the most famous wildlife migrations on the planet. During certain seasons, millions of animals such as wildebeest, zebras, and antelopes travel across the plains in search of fresh grass and water. These migrations follow ancient natural patterns that have existed for thousands of years. Africa is also home to impressive mountain ranges. One of the most remarkable is Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa. Rising above the plains of Tanzania, its snow-capped peak can be seen from many kilometers away. What makes Kilimanjaro fascinating is the variety of climates that exist along its slopes. At the base there are warm forests, while near the summit the air becomes cold and icy. In Central Africa lies one of the largest tropical rainforest regions on Earth, the Congo Basin. This vast forest is sometimes called the lungs of Africa because it plays an important role in the planet's climate. The rainforest is filled with towering trees, winding rivers, and countless forms of life. Many animals that live here, such as gorillas and forest elephants, are rarely seen anywhere else in the world. Another breathtaking feature of Africa is its Great Lakes. Lakes such as Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, and Lake Malawi are among the largest and deepest freshwater lakes on Earth. These lakes are not only beautiful but also extremely important ecosystems. They support thousands of fish species and provide water and food for millions of people who live nearby. Africa's landscapes are constantly shaped by natural forces. Winds slowly move desert sands, rivers carve valleys through rock, and volcanoes form new mountains over long periods of time. These slow changes remind us that the Earth is always evolving, even if the process takes thousands or millions of years. When people explore the landscapes of Africa, they often describe a feeling of calm and vastness. The wide horizons, open skies, and ancient geological formations create a sense of space that is difficult to find anywhere else on the planet. It is a place where nature feels powerful, yet peaceful at the same time. These landscapes are not only beautiful, they also tell the long story of the Earth itself. Every desert dune, forest, mountain, and lake is part of a much larger natural system that has shaped life on this remarkable continent for millions of years. The remarkable wildlife of Africa. Africa is one of the richest places on Earth when it comes to wildlife. The continent is home to an extraordinary variety of animals, many of which exist nowhere else in the world. Over millions of years, Africa's landscapes, from deserts to forests and savannas, have created environments where countless species learn to survive, adapt, and live together in complex ecosystems. One of the most famous animals of Africa is the elephant. African elephants are the largest land animals on Earth. These gentle giants move slowly across the savannas and forests, using their trunks to gather food, drink water, and even greet other members of their herd. Elephants live in close family groups led by an older female called a matriarch, and their calm social behavior has fascinated scientists for many years. Another iconic animal of the African plains is the lion. Often called the king of the savannah, lions are powerful predators that usually live in groups known as prides. Unlike many other big cats, lions often hunt together, which allows them to bring down larger animals. Yet for most of the day, lions are surprisingly relaxed. spending long hours resting in the shade while the warm African sun moves slowly across the sky. Giraffes are another unique symbol of Africa's wildlife. With their long necks and tall legs, they are the tallest animals on Earth. Giraffes use their height to reach leaves high in acacia trees that other animals cannot easily access. Despite their size, giraffes move with remarkable grace and calm, often walking slowly across the savanna in small peaceful groups. Africa is also home to many species of antelope and grazing animals. Zebras, wildebeest, gazelles, and many other herbivores roam the open plains. These animals form huge herds that can sometimes stretch for kilometers across the landscape. Their presence plays an important role in maintaining the balance of grasslands by grazing on plants and supporting the larger food chain. In the forests of Central Africa live some of the planet's most intelligent animals, the great apes. Gorillas and chimpanzees share many similarities with humans in their behavior and social structures. They form strong family groups, communicate through sounds and gestures, and display remarkable curiosity about their surroundings. The rivers and lakes of Africa also support an entirely different world of wildlife. Hippos spend much of their day resting in water to stay cool under the hot sun. Crocodiles quietly wait near riverbanks, perfectly adapted to life between land and water. Fish, birds, and countless other creatures depend on these freshwater ecosystems. What makes African wildlife especially fascinating is the balance that exists between so many different species. Predators, herbivores, birds, insects, and plants are all part of a complex system where each species plays a role. When observed peacefully, this balance reveals how nature can function with remarkable harmony. Watching African wildlife often brings a sense of calm and wonder. The slow movements of elephants, the quiet grazing of zebras, and the gentle silhouettes of giraffes against the horizon create scenes that feel timeless. In these moments, the continent reveals one of its greatest treasures, a living world where nature continues to follow ancient rhythms that have existed for millions of years. The ancient civilizations and cultures of Africa. Africa is not only a continent of extraordinary landscapes and wildlife. It is also one of the oldest centers of human culture and civilization. Long before many other regions of the world developed large societies, African communities were building cities, creating art, developing trade routes, and forming rich cultural traditions that still influence the world today. One of the most famous ancient civilizations of Africa was ancient Egypt. Along the fertile banks of the Nile River, Egyptians built one of the most remarkable societies in human history. They constructed massive stone pyramids, created one of the earliest writing systems known as hieroglyphs, and developed advanced knowledge of mathematics, medicine, and astronomy. The rhythm of life in ancient Egypt was closely connected to the annual flooding of the Nile, which brought fertile soil for farming. Farther south, other powerful kingdoms and cultures flourished across the continent. In West Africa, the ancient kingdom of Mali became one of the richest empires of the medieval world. Its prosperity came largely from trade in gold, salt, and other valuable resources that traveled across the vast Sahara Desert. Caravans of camels carried goods across the desert for months, connecting Africa with North Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. The city of Timbuktu became one of the most famous centers of learning during this time. Located near the edge of the Sahara, Timbuktu developed into an important place for scholars, teachers, and travelers. Libraries filled with handwritten manuscripts preserved knowledge about science, religion, history, and philosophy. These manuscripts show that African scholars were actively contributing to global knowledge many centuries ago. Africa has always been a continent of immense cultural diversity. Today there are more than 1,000 different languages spoken across the continent, and each region has its own traditions, music, clothing, and art forms. From colorful woven textiles to detailed wood carvings and rhythmic musical instruments, African cultures express creativity in many unique ways. Music plays a particularly important role in many African societies. Traditional drums, string instruments, and singing have long been used during ceremonies, celebrations, storytelling, and daily life. Many modern musical styles around the world, including jazz, blues, and various forms of popular music, have roots that trace back to African rhythms and traditions. Another remarkable aspect of African culture is its deep connection with storytelling. For thousands of years, history, wisdom, and moral lessons were passed down through spoken stories. Skilled storytellers, sometimes called griots in West Africa, preserved the memory of entire communities by sharing historical events, legends, and family histories through spoken word and music. What makes Africa especially fascinating is the way ancient traditions continue to exist alongside modern life. In many places, people still practice customs that have been passed down for generations, creating a living connection between the past and the present. When we explore the cultures of Africa, we discover a continent rich not only in nature but also in human creativity and knowledge. Its civilizations remind us that Africa has played an essential role in shaping the cultural and intellectual history of the world. The great rivers and natural wonders of Africa. Africa is a continent shaped by water, mountains, and powerful natural forces that have slowly sculpted the land over millions of years. Among its most fascinating features are its great rivers, waterfalls, and geological formations. These natural wonders not only create breathtaking landscapes, but also support life across the continent. One of the most famous rivers in the world flows through Africa, the Nile. Stretching for more than 6,600 kilometers, it is often considered the longest river on Earth. The Nile begins far to the south in the lakes and highlands of East Africa and travels north through deserts until it reaches the Mediterranean Sea. For thousands of years, this river has provided water for farming, transportation, and life in one of the driest regions of the planet. Another remarkable river is the Congo River, which flows through the dense rainforests of Central Africa. It is the second longest river in Africa and one of the deepest rivers in the world. The Congo Basin surrounding the river contains one of the largest tropical rainforests on Earth. This forest absorbs enormous amounts of carbon dioxide and helps regulate the global climate, making it one of the most important natural regions on the planet. Africa is also home to one of the most spectacular waterfalls in the world, Victoria Falls. Located on the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe, this massive waterfall stretches more than a kilometer across and drops over 100 meters into a deep gorge. The local name for the waterfall, Mocio a Tunya, means the smoke that thunders, describing the huge clouds of mist that rise into the air when the water crashes below. Another natural wonder of Africa is the Namib Desert, one of the oldest deserts in the world. Some scientists believe parts of this desert have existed for more than 50 million years. The Namib is famous for its enormous red sand dunes, which are among the tallest on Earth. When the sun rises or sets, the dunes glow in deep shades of orange and red, creating landscapes that look almost surreal yet remain completely natural. In East Africa, the Great Rift Valley continues to shape the continent through slow geological movement. This vast valley stretches thousands of kilometers and contains lakes, volcanoes, and fertile lands that support both wildlife and human communities. Some of Africa's most famous national parks lie within this region. Africa also contains unique rock formations and ancient plateaus that tell the story of the Earth's deep past. Wind, rain, and volcanic activity have slowly carved these landscapes into dramatic cliffs, canyons, and mountains. These features remind us that the surface of our planet is always changing, even if the changes happen very slowly. What makes Africa's natural wonders especially peaceful to observe is their sense of scale and timelessness. Rivers flow steadily, waterfalls thunder endlessly, and deserts shift quietly with the wind. These natural rhythms have continued for thousands and millions of years, creating landscapes that feel both powerful and calming at the same time. When we look at Africa's rivers, deserts, and mountains, we see not only beautiful scenery but also the powerful forces that shape the planet. These natural wonders remind us how deeply connected life is to the Earth's landscapes and the slow movements of nature. The quiet future of Africa and its timeless spirit. Africa is often described as a continent of deep history, but it is also a place of constant change and renewal. While many of its landscapes and traditions feel ancient, Africa continues to grow, adapt, and shape its future in fascinating ways. The story of Africa is not only about the distant past, it is also about the dynamic life that continues across the continent today. One of the most remarkable aspects of Africa is its young population. Many African countries have some of the youngest populations in the world. This means that millions of children and young people are growing up with new opportunities to learn, create, and build communities. Across cities and villages, schools, universities, and research centers are helping the next generation explore science, technology, and environmental knowledge. Africa's cities are also evolving rapidly. Large urban centers such as Lagos, Nairobi, and Cape Town have become vibrant places of innovation, culture, and creativity. Modern buildings stand beside historic neighborhoods, and new ideas are shaping industries from technology to art and music. These cities reflect the balance between tradition and progress that characterizes much of modern Africa. At the same time, Africa remains deeply connected to nature. Many countries have created national parks and protected areas to preserve wildlife and natural ecosystems. These parks allow elephants, lions, gorillas, and countless other species to continue living in their natural habitats. Conservation efforts are helping protect the delicate balance between humans and wildlife for future generations. Africa is also becoming increasingly important in global environmental research. Scientists study its forests, deserts, rivers, and oceans to understand how ecosystems respond to climate change. The Congo rainforest, for example, plays a vital role in regulating the Earth's atmosphere by absorbing large amounts of carbon dioxide. In rural regions across the continent, traditional ways of life continue alongside modern technology. Farmers often combine ancient agricultural knowledge with new scientific methods to grow crops more efficiently. Communities share wisdom that has been passed down for generations about living in balance with the land. Africa's artistic and cultural influence continues to spread across the world as well. Music, fashion, storytelling, and visual art from African cultures inspire people far beyond the continent. Many global cultural movements trace their roots back to African traditions and rhythms that have traveled across oceans and generations. Perhaps one of the most calming aspects of Africa is its sense of continuity. The same rivers continue to flow, the same savannas stretch toward the horizon, and many of the same wildlife migrations still follow their ancient roots. While societies change and grow, the natural rhythms of the continent remain remarkably steady. When we think about Africa, we are looking at a place where past, present, and future meet. It is a continent of deep origins, incredible diversity, and quiet resilience. From its vast deserts to its bustling cities, Africa continues to tell a story that is both ancient and endlessly unfolding. In this way, Africa reminds us of something deeply reassuring. The world is always changing, yet the great patterns of nature and human curiosity continue to move forward together. Thank you for joining this peaceful journey across Africa. If you enjoyed relaxing and learning, don't forget to like and subscribe. Sleep well, and see you in the next story.